Today we're talking with Kaley, and Kaley's got one of those spunky, smartass attitudes that I love because she's all about challenging the status quo. And when I first saw your content, I was like, absolutely. You don't typically think about the fact that wheelchair users make spicy content, or even like, I feel like a lot of times we don't even think about that component of life. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. If you would just start us at the beginning and share a little bit about your backstory.
Okay, so when I was 14, I was injured in a car accident and I broke my C5 vertebrae. So I'm a quadriplegic, meaning I'm paralyzed from basically the chest down. I have no use of my fingers. So I can move my arms, just not my fingers. There's like a huge misconception that quads can only move nothing at all. That's not true. So I just don't have finger function and I can't walk. So I am in a wheelchair. And then I finished out school and then I started college. I got my associates in psychology and right now I'm going for my bachelor's. And I think about probably 2 years ago is when I started doing a little bit pretty decent on social media and growing a bigger following. And so I started that and then it doesn't really pay that well. So I was looking where the money is. And everybody was telling me, create an OnlyFans. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Eventually, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. So I've been doing that for about 2 years now, but I did take a pretty big break and just post here and there and not really interact on there and stuff. But yeah, so here we are now.
So when you decided to do OnlyFans, what do you think was the biggest challenge you had to overcome?
I think it was just probably what other people would think of me, worrying about that. And
As
then, but I've never really been the type to care what people think about me anyways. So I was like, who cares? Just do it. If they don't like it, then they don't have to associate with me. You don't have to follow me. You don't have to interact. It's fine.
that's an amazingly strong stance to come from, though. I feel like I get a lot of requests to start OnlyFans myself, and it is one of those things where I have a teenage daughter who's absolutely not. And every time I bring it up and she's, I want a horse, I'm like, you know what could make horse money? And I don't want a horse that badly. But it takes a lot of guts to say, you know what, I don't care what other people think. I'm going to just do this thing because I want to do this.
Yeah, and I think I got to that point in my life just from being in the wheelchair in general. When I first got injured, I was very aware of people staring at me. I didn't like to go outside. I didn't like to go in public. I was just really embarrassed. I was also really young. I was 14, so it was a lot. And eventually I just says, you know what? You have to live your life for yourself and you have to go out there and you have to live or it's just going to pass you by and you're just going to be stuck. So I started getting out and just realizing everybody's going to look at you. Oh, give them something to look at, look cute, wear a cute outfit, and who cares what they think?
I love that because I feel like everybody struggles with that on some level.
Mhm.
It's easy to think I'm the only one who's ever going to feel this way. I'm the only one that's ever going to feel like people are staring at me. I'm the only one that's ever going to feel different or stick out or be the one that everyone's staring at. And it's easy to get caught up in that. I had an accident back in 2012 or 13. It's been long enough now that I don't even remember what year it was. But I had to relearn how to walk from it. And I walked for a long time with a cane. And I used to feel really self-conscious of it. And so I can't even imagine being 14, being at the very beginning of teenagerhood where you're already dealing with so much anyway, and being different and having to completely shift the future that you saw for your life.
Yeah, it was a huge change for me. And when I did get in my accident, all of my friends stopped coming around. And I think that also contributed to me not wanting to be like around people because I was like, they're embarrassed of me. They don't want to be my friend because I'm in this wheelchair now and they're embarrassed of me. Really, they were young. When you're young, you don't know how to deal with situations like that. And that was it.
You know, what's weird is that at this point in time, I've done enough interviews with people that have either had some kind of spine impact or have had some major life change in general. And the weirdest thing to me is the number of us that lost our friends in that process. When I had my accident, and I have ongoing impacts that you don't see by looking at me, unless you see me fall, which happens more often than I would like. I still have a lot of vestibular damage. But I have, for what is the most part, an invisible injury. But yet I lost my two closest girlfriends in this because and we were adults. We had babies and we were like absolutely best friends. We hung out all the time and they couldn't handle the new reality of who I was. And I've heard so many people say the exact same thing. Anytime your life takes a major shift, you tend to lose the people that you're closest to outside of family. And sometimes you lose family as well. But it's mind blowing to me, but it's also heartbreaking because the time when you need people in your life the most is the time when most of the people that have been in your life just disappear.
I think for a long time I was like really upset and mad at people about that.
Yeah.
But the more I look back, I'm like, they just they don't know. They feel like they might have to treat you differently. They don't know how to react, and it's not necessarily that's not a you problem. That's their problem.
But that's also an incredibly strong and incredibly graceful place to come from. And it's because you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. It is a them problem. But it's hard, especially I would imagine at 14, not to internalize that and be like, what's wrong with me? Why? I can remember begging my girlfriends and being like, all I want, you don't need to understand me. You don't need to fix me. All I want is for you to love me because you're my friends and I've supported you through tough times. And that's all I want is you just to support me. And one of my girlfriends was like, that's just too much. It's just too much. And on one hand, I'm grateful for the clarity. But on the other hand, it's amazing how often when we go through these really big changes, we do it alone.
Yeah, it's true. And it's sad. It's sad that people have to go through that,
Yeah.
but I guess it's life, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think that a lot of adults actually went through that though.
Yeah. One of my good friends, when she became super successful with her business, which is not a traumatic change, but is still a major change, she lost all of her girlfriends. And they were like, nope, you're just too much now. You're too this, you're too that. And that's how we became friends because I did a podcast interview with her. And I was like, she was one of the first ones that put voice to that situation of losing all of your closest friends when you undergo a major change. I was like, oh my goodness, I had that same experience. And so we started talking because of it. And we're now good friends. But it's amazing to hear from you at 14 because you would think at 14, kids are some kids, not all kids, but kids can be so accepting. But
Yeah, you would think that, but I think also they just a lot of the times the kids see a wheelchair and they think like a mental disability or something like that
yeah,
because they're young and they don't understand. And
yeah.
so initially when I did get in my accident, they were all there. And not when I was in the hospital, that was a cool thing to do. Go see me in the hospital. They were all there as soon as I got home. Nobody was there. And my friend, my one of my best friends would tell me like, "Oh, I'm gonna come see you. I'm gonna come see you." Never come see me. And so it was just at that time, I was like, I was mad. I was so upset. And it took me a long time to actually get over that and
Yeah.
realize, you know what? They were young.
Yeah.
And I guess it doesn't only happen when people are young, though.
And it's tough because you think of all the things that you're losing anyway. Anytime you have one of these major changes, you're going to lose large parts of life regardless. And so the last thing you think is that this network that you've built of support and love is going to evaporate along with all these other major changes.
Yeah, it's true.
On the other hand, it also gives you a chance to realize how strong you are and that your strength never came from the people around you.
I think a lot of my strength does come from the people around me, but that's like in a sense of my family.
That's awesome. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Not friends, but family for sure.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, not everybody is lucky enough to have that. And I definitely think that is a blessing.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't be where I am today, who I am today without them. So,
that's beautiful. Do you live with your family or do you live independently now?
yeah. I live with my mom, my dad, and my grandma. So my mom and my grandma are like my primary caregivers, so they help me with everything.
That's awesome. How do they feel about you doing OnlyFans?
I think my grandma doesn't really know what it is. I don't explain it to her. They have both of them have helped me take feet pictures though.
That's
My
so
mom doesn't care. My mom's, you're an adult, do what you want.
rock on. See that those are the kind of parents that the world needs more of. That's
Yeah,
cool.
they're not judgmental. They're just like whatever.
Do you
They
think
like,
it would have impacted your decision one way or the other if they'd been less supportive?
yeah, probably.
Yeah. Because it is true. I said my daughter, her feedback has played a big role because I probably would have done it long ago, but she's so adamantly against it. I'm like, that's fair. She's a teenager. The last thing she wants is some boy coming up to her and being like, "Oh, is that your mom?"
But your mom's so hot. Look at what I saw of her.
They get enough of it just because of the social media presence I have. I'm like, anything I can do to make their lives more normal. I can respect that. That's
That's
cool. That's cool.
understandable.
Yeah. But that's so cool that your mom's supportive.
Yeah. She'll help me with taking my like the feet pictures or whatever, that type of stuff. So,
It's interesting because until I read your intake form, I had never thought about the fact that people would fetishize wheelchair users. Did that surprise you?
yes, I had no idea about it like in the beginning. And the only way I found out is there's this one guy, and he is like notorious. They call him devotees for being like a devotee. And I didn't know, like, I just thought he was just like a regular guy, like wanting to talk to you and stuff. But so I've been injured 18 years. He is still around doing this crazy stuff that he does, but he pretends to be in a wheelchair to basically befriend people in wheelchairs, and then he will ask details like about your injury, which just all that personal kind of stuff. And he gets off on that. So that was how I initially learned about it, was because I was like, this conversation is a little bit weird. And then people on social media started exposing him, and I was like, oh, so there's a fetish for this. Now I encounter hundreds of them. And I'm like, it's insane to me that is even a fetish, but I guess there's a fetish for everything. So
Yes, there is. It's weird because I'll post things from time to time that I don't even realize I'm crossing over into an interesting fetish, and I'll post something and I'll get like a bunch of comments, and I'm like, huh, I had no idea.
yeah, it was shocking to me, honestly. I was like, really? Like they're into like the stuff that you do not think they would be into, like how you go to the bathroom, like things like that.
Really
Yes. And that turns them on.
interesting.
I have been asked for like content of, so when you have a spinal cord injury, you have to do like a bowel program. So basically, depending on the person, whatever that entails. So a lot of people, it's like a suppository, and then like you go on a commode chair, that type of thing. They want videos of that.
So
They
every
want,
single time you go to the bathroom, you have to do a whole process.
yes. And you also have to use a catheter to go pee. So they like videos of that. Like they're into that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
People are so fascinating. They truly are.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll question them because I want to learn like
Yes.
how did you get to this point?
Yeah.
And I've only had one guy that he explained it was very strange what he explained to me, but he said basically like when he was younger, his grandma was in a wheelchair and he would help take care of her and somehow developed the fetish from that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like most fetishes have got a root somewhere. And the question is, what is your previous experiences that kick that off?
Yeah, and that's what I try to get out of most of them, but a lot of them they don't want to talk about that. They just want to talk about whatever they're into.
Huh,
But I did have that one guy explain that to me, and I was like,
that's
okay.
interesting. People are so fascinating.
They really are.
That's the thing I love the most about these episodes is I learned so much about worlds that I never would have experienced otherwise.
Yeah, because you wouldn't think there's like these hundreds of people with this fetish for
Yeah.
it's either people who are paralyzed or amputees, like they go hand in hand of that with that fetish. So yeah, there's a lot of them.
Interesting, because you would think that those are such very different segments of the population.
Right.
Yeah, I've interviewed both, and each has such completely different experiences that it's interesting that in the fetishist mind, they're just lumped together.
Yeah. And not all of them are like that, but a lot of them are into both of those things.
That's interesting. I have a friend that was born with a limb difference. And he said it's weird the number of people that will send me requests. And he doesn't currently create spicy content, but he says if I did, I would make so much money because the number of people, men and women, who send him requests doing things with his limb difference. I'm like, that's interesting to me because like I'm aware that it exists, but I don't really have any I don't have any real response to it either way, good or bad.
For me, I'm like before when I was like very first injured, I was like, no, that's weird. I'm not into that. Like, I don't want to associate with anybody like that. And I would like expose them, that type of thing. And now I'm like, you know what? As long as you're honest,
Yes.
if you're open and honest with these girls or boys or whoever that you are talking to, and you let them know your intentions and let them know what you're into, and maybe they'll be accepting, maybe not, then that's fine. But don't go about it in like a dishonest way or in a creepy way. That's not cool.
I totally agree. Like anything between consenting adults
Right.
is cool. And no one else has to understand it. That's totally okay too. I know that there's facets of my life that no one would understand, and I don't need them to. And there's facets of other people's lives. Who was it that was telling me? Someone was telling me that she sells a lot of pre-chewed food. And I
Oh,
was like, oh. And then I was like, you know what? Why that's not my place to judge. As long as she's down with pre-chewing it and they want it enough and they're willing to pay for it, knock themselves out. I was fascinated because I'm like, I wonder what the origin of that fetish is. But
yeah.
if pre-chewed food is your thing, then by all means, rock on.
Whatever you're into.
You want videos of me chewing food? I absolutely. I will
Yeah,
chew food all day long.
that's easy.
And it's interesting. I get requests for shoes all the time, and I've not yet done it, but I'm totally down with it. I'm like, I absolutely will sell you shoes out of my closet.
Yeah, why not? That's easy.
Like you want, I will show you those shoes on my feet. I will show them in the air. I will do whatever you want me to do. I will do that with shoes if that's what makes you happy.
And that's how I feel about the people with the wheelchair fetish. You want a video of my legs spasming? Cool. I'll sell it to you. Before I would have been like, no, that's weird. But now I'm like, you know what? If I can make money off of it, sure.
Bring it. So what? I didn't even know that was a thing. What is leg spasming?
Yeah, so when you have a spinal cord injury, your body, some people, your body will spasm just from, if I go from seated to laying down, my legs will spasm. My hands will sometimes spasm, and they're into that. They like that. They like
Interesting.
videos of that. So
People, I know I keep saying this, but people are fascinating.
they really are. Some of the things they tell me, I'm like, oh, okay, sure.
So what's the wildest request you've gotten?
The wildest was probably when they asked for a picture of me and my mom together, topless. I was like, no, that's definitely not happening. That's a little bit weird. No. And I also used to have this one guy on there, and he liked me to treat him like a dog. Like when I would talk to them, or talk to him, he wanted me to talk to him like he was a dog and like just put him down, degrade him and that kind of stuff. And I thought I was like, I'm a nice person. It was really hard for me to be mean to him. And so I had to like just figure that out. But I thought that was pretty cool because he would just tip me to just to be mean to him. And I was like, oh, I like this.
I was gonna say I feel like I could do that.
Yeah. It was hard for me to be mean initially because I'm like, that's just not in me to just be mean like that. But he liked it. So
You're like, I can connect with that part of myself. It would be hard to get. Part of it is that we're socially conditioned to be nice. And so getting out of that social conditioning and be like, okay, you know what? I know that women are supposed to be nice and kind, but I'm going to go ahead and dip into this and really get in touch with my bitchy side. But I could also see it being really rewarding.
Yeah, it was fun, honestly.
That's awesome.
And then I've also had people want like diaper content.
Really?
I don't personally wear diapers and have accidents and stuff, but some people with spinal cord injuries do, and they want those diapers.
They want the actual diaper. Wow.
Used, dirty diaper.
People are fascinating.
Yeah.
Like that one, I guess it makes sense that like there truly is a fetish for every single like anything you can think of.
Yeah, anything.
Anything. I had someone who asked to buy my fingernail clippings. And I'm like, I don't clip on my eyes. I file them down. So I don't have anything to sell. Like I feel
That I just wonder what do they do with it?
I have no idea. I
Yeah, like now I'm curious. I would have been like, what are you gonna do with it?
on one hand, yes, I'm curious. On the other hand, I'm like, I probably don't really want to know.
See, I'm nosy. Like I want to know everything. So I'm questioning, like, why? What are you
I
gonna do
love
with
it.
it?
I love it. That's awesome. Do they, you said that they don't, the guys that some of them won't answer, but like when you ask questions, how often do you get actual answers from people?
Sometimes they'll answer, but for the most part, I think that especially when I question them about like where it all started, they don't even know where it all
Yeah.
started. So like that kind of stuff, they don't really have the answers. But I also try not to question them too much because they're probably like, okay, we're here to like for a different reason, not for you to interview me.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I had someone that wanted to buy shoes from me and he said something, so I assumed he was married. And I said something about that. And it was like instant shutdown. And I was okay with that because I wasn't really that worried about selling shoes to him. But it was interesting how he needed me to very much fit into a fantasy. And the second I brought any kind of reality into it, it freaked him out.
He was like, no, I'm out of here.
Exactly. And it was like, I was okay with it because I was like, yeah, you know what? The shoes he wanted, I really liked. He had seen a pair and he's, I really like these. And I'm like, I would sell those. I would miss them, but I would sell them if for the right price. I guess the reality is we all have our price.
That's what I think too. Even
Yeah.
though a lot of people say they don't, but I think we do.
Interesting. So after you became injured and you lost all your friends, did you discover a new support group or have you just learned to be more self-sufficient?
I don't feel like I have like too many friends. I
Yeah.
have like me and my mom spend so much time together, and not only because she's my caregiver, but she's my best friend. So that's my person. And I have my brothers. I have two brothers, and then they're both married, so I have their wives. And then me and my cousin are really close, but for like friends, not too many. But the friends I do have are also disabled.
Interesting. I guess probably because you guys speak one another's language.
That's what I would think too, but no.
No?
Because me personally, like I don't want to have disabled talk all the time. So like a lot of times if you go to these events with disabled people, like they just want to keep asking you about like your injury, how you do these things. But these people, yes, we met because we are disabled, but we actually connect like on a friendship level and we don't really talk about our injuries or what we go through all the time, things like that.
That's so cool. That's
One of my best friends, he is in a chair too, and I don't think we ever talk about being in chairs.
that's cool. Like you think about it, there's a term called trauma dumping. And I know like some of my good friends, like that's how we started off being friends, was we trauma dumped. But all these years later, it's the thing outside of that. It's the pieces that we connect on outside of that commonality. And even though we have that in common, it doesn't really play a big role in our friendship going forward. That makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah.
that's exactly how it is.
That's very cool. So, how do your brothers feel about you doing OnlyFans, or do they not care?
They know, but they don't really make comments about it.
So cool. Like,
My little brother is actually pretty funny because I don't know if you heard how I broke my femur.
no,
So I broke my femur during sex like a few months ago.
girl,
And
go you.
yeah, so that happened. And then like a month ago, we were hanging out with the neighbors next door drinking. And my brother's, yeah, she broke her femur. Tell her or tell him how she did it. And I was like, oh my God. So
Ow. I have questions. How did you break your femur in sex?
Because I've been in the wheelchair for so long, my bones, the doctor said my bones are pretty much like rubber. So what had happened was I had my legs crossed like bent and he just pushed too hard and it just snapped.
Did it hurt?
I didn't feel the pain, but my body reacted to the pain. So I started getting like it's called autonomic dysreflexia. So when you're injured at a higher level, you can't necessarily feel the pain, but your body will react. So your blood pressure will spike up super high. You'll get a really bad headache. You'll start like sweating. Your skin will get like red splotches all over. And it's really dangerous. Like you can actually have a stroke and die from it. So that started happening. But we heard the snap and I was like, that's weird. I was like, that's not like sometimes my hip will pop, but that was like, that wasn't normal. We're like, okay, whatever, let's just keep going. And then I'm like, nope, I can't do it. Like my body started freaking out. Like I was like, okay, that's enough. And so then I had to go to the hospital. He took me, they put me on the x-ray table. They're like, yeah, we're admitting you right now. So I got admitted. I had surgery the next night and then got to go home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That was a serious break.
yeah.
Wow.
That's the hardest bone in your body to
Yeah.
break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know whether to be impressed or like, or like, holy, I mean, you guys were going at
I'm like, at least I have a story to tell.
it. Yeah, you do.
It's funny too because my grandma she like tells everybody everything, and that was the one story she would not repeat of how that happened. I was like, okay, I'll tell the story. It's fine.
I got this one covered.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's cool that your grandmother is so like open about everything because no one in my family is open about anything. So it's amazing.
Yeah, my family's really open. We just we don't give a fuck, honestly.
Good.
It just is what it is.
Yeah. And that's the best way to go through life because life is such a weird mixture of experiences. And if you're constantly judging, you lose out on so many of the opportunities to have interesting experiences.
And I think I'm not really like a judgmental person. If you did something crazy, I'm like, okay, tell me about it. What'd you do? Was it fun? Was it worth it?
Same. I'm so fascinated by stories that people's experiences because I can't possibly have all the experiences that are interesting. I just can't.
Right.
I probably will never break a femur during sex.
Hopefully not. You don't want to.
Because I know you said that your bones are really malleable, but that is still amazing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then when we were in the hospital, because my boyfriend took me, so when we were there, they kept asking me, like, how did this happen? And I'm like, I didn't want to say it. I'm just like, oh, we just pushed my leg too far. And like and this guy, he just kept asking and asking. And then finally my man's like, it happened during sex. Like basically shut up and quit asking. You really want to know? And the guy stopped talking after that. I'm like,
Then after he left the room, he was like, "Oh my God, guys."
literally, probably went and told everybody.
I have a couple of friends that are nurses, and I love hearing from them because they've always got the best stories.
Yeah, I like those stories too. I always see those ones on TikTok and I'm like, ooh, tell me the tea.
And what happened?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, how did you meet your boyfriend?
On Facebook dating.
Ah, I've seen that, but I've not ever heard anyone that actually uses it. That's so cool.
Yeah, I used to do Tinder and then I did Facebook dating and then me and him met. That was a couple years ago.
Oh, God. I didn't realize it'd been out a couple of years. That's cool.
Yeah, it was like when it first came out.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Because now I hear it has like a bunch of just weirdos on there, but
And that's life in general. Let's be
yeah.
honest.
I know that's what Tinder turned into too.
Yeah. Like I always am fascinated. You know, I'm fascinated by people, but I'm also fascinated by the things that men will just say straight out of pocket. And you're like, what made you think that that was something I would be receptive to? Just curious. Just curious. Like,
They are insane. Their favorite one to ask me is, can you still have sex? And I'm like, no.
Why, why wouldn't I be able to? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen that would make me incapable of having sex?
Yeah, I just like to tell them like, oh no, when you break your neck, they call it a lost cause and they just sew your whole vagina up too. But
It's
that
a
question
thought.
just it doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it.
Here's a question. And if this is too personal, say it. How much can you feel when you have sex?
So I don't have like normal sensation. By the way, there's nothing too personal with me. I'm very open. I don't care. So it's not like normal sensation, but I can definitely feel like penetration. I can orgasm, all of that kind of stuff. So
Interesting.
not like a light touch or nothing. No.
Yeah. But that's amazing that you've got that level of sensation, even though you're theoretically completely
Yeah.
paralyzed. Yeah. Do you have any movement in your feet or your toes?
No.
So like it ends at the waist and then from there. So do you have any control of those muscles? Because I know, like for me with Kegels, I can build up a lot of dexterity. Do you have that level of dexterity?
No.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So but other than like spasms, like I think that also contributes to things like that too.
Ah, I got you. So I did an interview with Molly and she was talking about the challenges of giving oral. And she said that she's got to be placed just right and that one day she almost fell off the bed. Is that I know you've got sensation from here up. Is that any challenge or do you have enough mobility still that it still works?
I got enough motivation to do it too.
That was the right word.
So it's I don't know, I guess it's not that hard for me, but I've just figured out what works for me.
And I would guess,
I have fallen off the bed before, but not from that. And it just continued to the floor, so it was fine. But
same.
yeah, see, it
It happens.
happens. But other than that, I don't feel like there's too many challenges in that area.
Yeah.
Other than I'm not getting on top. Like that, you can put me on top, but I'm just gonna lay there and you're gonna still have to do the work.
Also same.
Yeah, see? But that's the good thing about being a girl in a wheelchair is mostly guys like to be in control.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most guys tell me like just able-bodied girls just lay on their back too. And I'm like, okay, then that works.
I got you. I
Yeah,
still got you.
exactly.
The first time that you had sex, because I would imagine, I realize I'm assuming you hadn't had sex when you had the injury.
No,
Was it, I guess you don't have anything to compare it against, because I was going to say, was it awkward the first time you had sex? But I'm guessing it's awkward for everyone the first time they have sex.
I feel like it is awkward for everybody.
Yeah.
But my first time I was drunk and not too drunk to where I didn't know what was going on, but
Yeah.
and it was with somebody that I have known forever.
That's huge.
And it just happened, but it wasn't like anything spectacular. It never happened again with that person.
That's interesting. And I would guess that like in that first experience, you're figuring things out regardless.
Exactly.
Like no matter what your ability level is, you've never done it before. So you're trying to figure it out as you go. Cause like I had read a lot about it, but then still the first time I had sex, I was like, oh, that's different from what I expected.
Yeah, exactly. And it took me a long time though to be comfortable enough with my body to just now I'm like, I just, you know what, this is what I can do. You do what you want, and there we go. And I'm completely comfortable like being naked, like things like that, where not like self-conscious where how I was before. But it took a while to get there.
Yeah. I think that's true for everybody. It's part of the society that we live in that we've all got weird hangups about our body regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. I love this.
Yeah, this is fun.
So, what is it that you wish people knew about being either an OnlyFans creator or being a wheelchair using OnlyFans creator?
I think it's just more of people need to realize that just because you're disabled doesn't mean that you can't be a sexual being and that you're not attractive and things like that.
I do love how you address that regularly on your content because it's an assumption I had. I didn't realize it until I did that first interview with Gina and realized that like in my mind, when you have your accident, that's it. Like you become just injured and like your entire life's experience is about being injured. And that may be partially because with my injuries, it governed my life for so long. I had chronic migraines from literally the day after my accident for a year and a half. And so that owned my life. And relearning how to walk and rebuilding my strength and my balance and all that, that owned my life. And so I think I assumed that everybody else's experiences would be like mine, where life was very much about, okay, how do I kept wanting a normal life. And what I had to come to terms with is that there is no such thing as a normal life. And I will never be able to get back to the life that I had before. And I had two choices. I could either wallow in how much pain I'm in and what I've lost, or I could say, you know what? Yeah, that sucks. I cannot get back to who I was. What do I do going forward? How do I make the best use of what I've got? Because I still have a lot more than other people may have. And how do I move forward from that? And so when I talked with Gina, it was fascinating because she definitely challenged my assumptions. I had never thought of going to law school after an injury. And I was like, that's stupid of me to assume. Like, nothing's happened to your brain. It's still just as capable and functional as it was before the accident.
But I think people just don't know. Like they're
Yeah,
just naive to the situations. That's my goal just with social media in general, is to just show you could still have a normal life. You could still wear cute outfits. You could still put your makeup on and get out there and do normal things. Because a lot of people don't think that they can do that, or that a lot of able-bodied people think that we don't do that.
that's so true. That's so true. And it's nice to see you willing to answer those questions. I know that you are helping people that you may never know, because by dispelling those assumptions, you are increasing an entire world awareness of what it means to have an injury like yours.
And that's my main goal. And I do get a lot of messages from people who are newly injured, and they'll ask my advice and like things like that. And that's one of my favorite things to do, like with the social media stuff, is just to help other people in a similar situation and
That's
give them
beautiful.
advice.
That's so cool. Because it is so affirming to see people just living life regardless. And I think that there's so much emphasis on being quote unquote normal. And the reality is there is no such thing as normal.
Yeah, who's normal?
Exactly. Everyone has their challenges, and everyone is trying to figure out how to do the best they can with whatever challenge they're living through. And by being open about your challenges and what it is that your life entails, it shows other people who I know I wasn't paralyzed, but that was one of my first thoughts after I had my accident was, like, oh my God, I could have so easily been paralyzed. And it terrified me. And to see you just living your life and, you know what, yep, this happened. It is what it is. I've gone on and lived a full life. It helps remove some of that fear and some of that, oh my God, what would I do if this happened?
And that's exactly what my goal is.
That's
And I
awesome.
try, when people ask me questions, like I try not to. Some of them, like I'm like, okay, this is a dumb question, but I try to be open and honest. Unless they're being disrespectful, then I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna answer you with a smart ass answer. But for the most part, I try to explain things and so people can understand because I know they're curious.
And like, it's tough because on one hand, I would imagine, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine it would get exhausting to be the voice of an injury. It would be exhausting to be the one that has to speak to it. But on the other hand, it's hard to know when you meet somebody who's in a wheelchair. It's hard to know, okay, what's their comfort level? I don't want to make them feel awkward because I'm curious.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't comfortable, like they're not open and they don't want to talk about it. So it's just each individual person.
Yeah,
For me, I don't care. If we're in the store and you ask what happened to me, I'll tell you. I'm not going to get offended by it. But some people don't like that.
totally okay. They
Yeah,
have right to that.
exactly.
When you were injured, was it like, did you automatically know that you were going to be permanently paralyzed? Or did you think, okay, maybe I'll come back from this?
So the doctors said basically never. stop hoping, but there's not like a cure in the moment. They never told me like you'll never walk again.
That's awesome.
Eventually, I accepted it and I'm like, it is what it is. I did used to go to therapy to try to do all of that, and then eventually I was just like, you know what? It's not going to happen, and if it does, it's going to be because of technology, not because of my body recovering on its own.
That's cool. That's a lot of maturity. How old were you when you think you made that awareness of, yep, this is what it is?
I was probably like 18.
Okay. Which is still awfully young for that level of maturity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a couple years to be like, okay, you know what? That's it.
Yeah. That makes
But I still do like therapy and stuff just to build more strength or maintain what I have.
that makes total sense. Because if you don't use it, you lose it.
Exactly.
When I originally started weightlifting, I've come way further than I expected to. But originally, I was like, the only thing that's happening with me resting as much as doctors are telling me to rest is I'm just losing strength. I'm becoming
Mhm.
weaker and weaker. I'm not getting better. I'm not healing, even though I'm resting as much as they're telling me to rest. And so finally, I was like, okay, then I'm going to start weightlifting just because that's the only thing I know how to do. And if it doesn't accomplish anything, so be it. But at least it gives me something to focus on.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So leave us with the last thought. Like, what is it that you hope everybody, when they see Kaley, what is it that you hope that they take away from you?
Let me think about this. I hope that they see me and they think that's a bad bitch in a wheelchair. She's out there living her life. You know what? I can go out there and I can live my life and I can do whatever I want. And I don't have to care what people think.
Girl, I love that. That is beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. And that's so true. It's so true. Like, you've given me a lot to think about today because I know that I get tied up in, I work so hard not to let other people's opinions of me resonate, but it still happens. And I love that you're just out here living your life, claiming it on your own terms and doing your thing.
Yeah, you can't let them get to you,
Yeah.
especially on social media. They like to run their mouths all the time. But I will sit there and argue with them all day. I do not care. Like we can go back and forth. I don't care.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Well, keep being a bad bitch. And thank you so much for this. This was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.